All right, well, it looks like it's about 2 o'clock now, and we'll go ahead and get started here. This will be a pretty quick briefing overall. The main concern is just going to be the return of the rainy pattern, which I know we all hate to see after a couple of dry days here. So we'll dive into this again. Hi, I'm Phil Grigsby with the National Weather Service, one of the lead forecasters here at the office, and let's just get right into this. Okay, so yeah, like I mentioned, the return of the rainy weather pattern is expected to start up beginning tomorrow. And unfortunately, it looks like this pattern is going to persist all the way through the middle of next week. And given the amount of rain that we'd seen recently and the fact that we already have rivers running fairly high and very high soil moisture content across the area, localized flash flooding is going to be a concern starting tomorrow, continuing through the weekend and likely into early next week. Of course, the primary concerns are always the more urbanized areas, just because of the concrete and everything. The runoff potential is a lot higher there. We'll also see the flooding on the Pearl River continue, and that's going to continue to impact some of the low-lying neighborhoods near Slidell, mainly along Military Road there through the middle of next week. It's still rising, and we'll show that in the slideshow here a little bit further down the road, that this flooding is going to continue for quite a while. The one good news thing that we have to talk about for this next week is that we don't have any tropical threats, which we all love to hear as we enter September here. So that's the best news that I can share. So speaking of the tropics, they have started to perk up a bit, but the good news is these are all what we call fish spinners. They're all out there in the Atlantic. They're not going to do anything in the Gulf or the Caribbean or anything like that over the next week. We did have Tropical Storm Danielle form way out there in the North Atlantic, and it's just going to stay out there and not be any threat to land at all. So we're looking good. We have no impacts expected to the area through the end of next week. That area of potential development that you see there east of the Caribbean is going to also curve out into the Atlantic and won't be a threat to us at all. So now we're going to dive right into the excessive rainfall outlook issue. This is the flash flooding issue that I was mentioning earlier. We're going to see a surge of moisture back into the area tomorrow, and that's really just going to linger over us all the way through next week. And unfortunately, the pattern, it looks like we're going to have this boundary kind of stall over the area and serve as a focusing mechanism for periods of showers and thunderstorms to kind of continuously develop each day. And heavy rainfall is going to be the main concern. You can see on Friday that high rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour will be possible, and that's going to lead to some localized flash flood concerns. So there is a marginal or the lowest level risk of flooding in place across the entire forecast area for tomorrow. Again, the more poorly drained, low-lying urban areas are going to be the primary concern tomorrow, and the highest threat is generally going to be from the late morning through the afternoon hours, because that's when we're going to have our peak heating and our greatest thunderstorm coverage and the strongest thunderstorm activity. Saturday actually looks like an even wetter day, unfortunately. The WPC folks in DC, and I'm in complete agreement with them, have upgraded to a slight risk for areas generally from, say, I-59 west all the way down through New Orleans, and that includes the Bayou region down there in Houma and Thibodaux as well. So this is a little higher risk. We'll even see if we maybe go higher than that. I'm a little concerned about Saturday. We could have a lot of storms that train over the same places, and the rainfall rates could get up to 4 inches per hour at times, definitely in the 3 inch per hour range. Again, it's going to be localized. There's going to be areas that may not see much rain, maybe only a half an inch or an inch, but then you're going to have other areas that could see 5, 6, 7 inches of rain that fall over, say, a hour and a half to 2 hour period of time. So there's going to be some definite flooding issues in some localized areas, especially in the slight risk area. So areas around Baton Rouge in Metro New Orleans and down towards Houma, the more urbanized locations. We'll just have to keep an eye on things, and we'll keep you guys apprised if we have to issue any flash flood warnings or anything like that. And again, timing wise, the highest threat is going to be from the late morning through the early evening hours. That really looks like the peak time. So especially Saturday afternoon we could have some very, very heavy rainfall that's occurring in some localized areas. Now moving on to the Pearl River. So this is the Pearl River at Bogalusa. And as we all know, they had very, very heavy rainfall that occurred last week in Jackson, Mississippi's area. And that is working its way downstream. And so we do project a rise into moderate flood stage in Bogalusa. Fortunately, up there, things are a little hillier. And so the primary impacts are going to be to mainly the wildlife areas and some of the access roads down there. There are a few homes that will be impacted, mainly with access issues. The homes are raised enough that they typically don't flood themselves, but getting in and out could be an issue for some of the people there near Bogalusa and especially south of Bogalusa. Looking at the Pearl River, near Pearl River, you can see that we're actually expecting a couple of flood waves. We're actually kind of at one of the flood waves right now, and it's going to level off for the next day or so. And then we'll see the secondary flood wave come down, and that's what's going to push things up into moderate flood stage, about 17.2 feet as we get into the middle of next week. And the biggest impacts there are already being felt in some of the low-lying neighborhoods east of Military Road in the Slidell area, and that is just going to continue, and we'll have a few more streets that flood as the river levels rise another foot or so. Fortunately, there again, homes are typically raised enough that we don't see those, the homes flooding, but we'll definitely have a lot of access issues for some of those lower lying neighborhoods east of Military Road over the next week. So that's just for planning purposes for St. Tammany Parish folks that are listening in. So that's really, those are kind of the biggest things to talk about. The tropics are quiet, which we all love to see. Flooding on the Pearl River is going to continue. That's going to be mainly a Slidell up through Bogalusa impact, probably over towards Pearlington as well. But Pearlington, fortunately, the river spreads out a little bit more, and so maybe the boat ramp might have a little issue and stuff like that. But the town itself should be okay with this moderate flood. The bigger issue is that we're going to have really, really high rainfall rates and slow storm motions and training, really all the way from tomorrow through Thursday. We have the EROs unfortunately only go out 3 days in advance, but do not be surprised if we see excessive rainfall outlooks issued for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week of at least a marginal risk, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a slight risk as well. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that, and we'll obviously send out emails and let you guys know what's happening, and we'll get out the warnings as quickly, as timely as possible when we do see any flooding concerns that, or flash flooding concerns that look like they're developing on radar. And please send us the reports. That helps us out. So if you start getting reports of flooding, in your parish or your county, send it our way. That helps us, know if we need to upgrade warnings or extend them in time or anything like that. So definitely send us the reports over the next week here of those flooding issues.